Lunch Money Lambert, Jeff Malott. Welcome to the Kayak Nation. Yeah. Welcome to the Kayak Nation. Kayak Nation. Hey. Welcome to the Kayak Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Nation, where we talk about fishing and competition. It's your boy Ox Pippin, aka Ox Fishing. Don't come over here tripping. Hey, hope you enjoy the show. Jeff Malott, Lunch Money Lambert, Lego. Hey, welcome to the Kayak Nation. Kayak Nation. Yeah. Welcome to the Kayak Nation. Kayak Nation. Hey. Welcome to the Kayak Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Nation.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to KBN Live. Glad to be back with you on a Monday. Ryan, good to have you back, man. I know you had a long weekend down there in the rain at Seminole. How you doing?
I kind of had a short weekend down there because after the way day one went, I pretty much made up my mind that there was not going to be a day two. So it was pretty simple for me.
Yeah, still an exciting weekend to watch. Watch what was going on.
It was fun, man. I really enjoy, the lake down there, the atmosphere, the layout. It's a cool little spot. But I mean, the fishing was tough. You were either on them or super frustrated. And it looked like only 18, 17 guys were really on them. So it was pretty wild.
Our special guest tonight, Bryan Howell, just made the long road trip back home. He's going to take the time to come in here and talk with us. He was one of the guys that was definitely on them.
Gosh, I mean,
we'll talk to him about that in just a minute. Yeah, we had some fun on the group page with him and his
unbelievable, man. I mean, that is a massive, massive limit. And the way it all played out was, that kind of made it even better. Like he smashed him on day one, but he didn't have service. So, day two, there's all this talk and all this hype because Joey got out there and laid the wood to him pretty good. And he's like calling, asking what the biggest limit in history was. And old Texas boy, as Ryan Van Tine has referenced, Meat Hammer Howell had just freaking smashed him. So that made a good plot twist at the end there.
Yeah, we need to ask. I've seen a bunch of nicknames for Bryan. We'll get into some of that for him too when we get him on here in a few minutes. But there was some other tournaments around the country too. We'll touch on those. I know. Do you know anything about the All-American Bass or the America Bass Kayak Series out in California? That kicked off this week.
No, I didn't know that. I mean, we've covered the Wild West guy. We had them on to talk about their thing. What's that one about?
Here, I'll throw it up here for you to see it. The ABA Kayak Series. I didn't know anything about it until I saw Greg Blanchard put a YouTube video up that he was in it.
Really?
And then
is it North California?
It was on El Capitan. Is that how you say it out there? El Capitan Lake. Tim O'Connor won it. Scroll through some of the names there, but yeah, so that's a new, I guess, regional or California series out in California.
I saw my boy Jason Yang. He was complaining a little bit, kind of on the Wild West Trail. He had like 3 really good fish get booted because he, I guess, had his hand somewhere on the base of the tail or something. I guess that's a rule out there for them.
Maybe that was the ABA series. I don't know.
No, he said it was Wild West. It was Wild West for sure. Yeah, I talked to him about it earlier.
All right, and then they also had the guys we had on, Chris and Joe from the TKC. They had their first big tournament, Texas Kayak Championship.
How'd that go?
Derek Taylor. They had a couple big limits put up. Look at there. I put it up on screen for us. Derek Taylor had 104. Brandon Maley, I don't know how you say his name, had 103.5. So that's a shootout. A bunch of guys in the 90s. So pretty cool to see that. So yeah, tournament season, man, it's in full effect.
That was their first one?
Yeah, first one.
Yeah, they were hyped up on that too, that lake. I remember them talking about how excited they were to go fish it.
Yeah, on Fayette, I think. So that's cool. Cool stuff. Big tournaments happening everywhere, and I think we'd be remiss not to say something about Jody Queen winning the 10 or 12
for sure.
or whatever.
And we'll have Jody on too soon, so don't worry about that. We kind of flipped a coin on who we're going to have on tonight, and I think the hype and the story was a little too good on this on this slugfest we just watched.
The deal with Jody, man, it just kind of it didn't really fly under the radar, but it happened because it got postponed. It kind of happened so late in the week. The momentum had already built for the Seminole event. It just kind of flew on through, you know.
I hate that they had him that close because I know a lot. I mean, Russ, I was there when Russ arrived at like 1:30. We were still up shenaniganing. Yeah, that works. We were still up to talk to him, and I mean, he had to drive, drove all night and got there in the wee hours of the morning. So that really cut out a whole lot of pre-fishing for those guys that were trying to hit both. So hopefully, in the future, they'll schedule better around it.
Yeah. I know they had some weather issues down there too that made them bump it an extra day. Did Jody fish the Seminole event?
I didn't see him.
Yeah, I didn't see his name on there. So he must not. I heard he'd been up there. He'd have been up there in the money.
Yeah, for sure. You would have noticed if he was there.
Yeah. But anyway, enough talking about all that. How about we get Bryan in here? What do you say?
Let's do it.
I know he's wore out. He's ready to get this over with. Probably. We're gonna have fun anyway. Hang on just a second. We'll get him in here. Bryan, what is up, my man?
What's up?
How you feeling? Got that check right behind you there, the big bass check. Feeling
good? I'm still. It still hasn't set in, honestly. I don't know if the exhaustion from fishing all weekend and driving 12 hours home straight through, or what it is. I don't know.
Well,
it's probably having to carry all that money home, I'd say.
Yeah, maybe.
So what was your mindset going into Seminole? Did you have kind of a inside track? Did you have a game plan going in, or did you just stumble onto some magic there?
I kind of had a game plan since I fished it last year, and I got a check last year, but I felt like I didn't do as well as I could have. And I had quite a few spots I liked last year that I had pre-fished. So my thought going into this was just go back to some of those areas, maybe explore around those areas, see if I could find some other things that might be better. Because I had some stuff I saw on the map that I pulled up on Google Earth that looked really good, but last year the wind was kind of blowing hard and it was hard to pedal to some of those spots during practice. So I never got to check them out because I just didn't want to battle that wind to pedal all the way a couple miles out to some spots and to have it potentially not even pan out. So this year I went to the spot where I first started day one last year, and I caught a couple of decent ones, but it wasn't as good as I thought it should be maybe. So I pedaled out and went to this pad stem flat. It's just like probably a mile plus of pad stems all out, maybe, like 3 feet of water on them or something. And I caught quite a few fish in those pad stems last year. But this year I didn't have a single bite in that whole area. I went all out there, and I figured I would at least be able to get, maybe 1 or 2 or a dink or something. I couldn't buy a bite. So I was kind of like, okay, maybe these fish haven't moved into that stuff yet. Maybe they're still a little bit behind what I thought they would be doing because the weather, the water temps, I think that first day it was 51-degree water temps where I was at. So I didn't feel that spot. So I just kept pedaling along. I was punching mats, trying different things. Couldn't buy a bite punching other than a pickerel. I had a pickerel snap me off, and I lost my 1-ounce tungsten. I was a little pissed off about that because, those are $10 weights sometimes, $5 to $10 weights just for one weight.
Somebody get him on the Woo Tungsten Pro staff right now. Sign him up.
The entire nation is on the Titan Tungsten team, if they didn't know that.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. I got some emails I'll forward you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after that, I pedaled up into this backwater that I don't know. I just decided maybe I should check it out. Maybe the fish are in there. Honestly, I thought that maybe it was too early to be way, way, way in the back of some of that stuff. But I went back there and I think I caught it was maybe an 18 or a 19, like maybe 5 minutes in when I went all the way to the back. I didn't have any bites, so I went all the way to the back. And then I had another one, maybe it was like a 20-incher. Maybe I shook it off because I saw it eat at the boat. Like it came all the way up to the boat, and I was like, I'll just not set the hook on this one, save it for the tournament. So after that, I was like, I need to get the heck out of here because like they're in here, and that was pretty much. I decided at that point I was probably gonna start there because it was not 5 minutes when I was back there that I had those 2 bites probably, and they were both good ones. After that, I kind of moved out, just fished along the bank, kind of tried to figure out some areas back that were in there that weren't as far back as the hole all the way to the back. And I caught one more, like maybe a 17 off one of those other banks. I was like, okay, I went ahead and marked that on my graph. Like that's one of the most important things to me. Like that helps me, I think, is I mark all the fish I catch. And then you kind of notice patterns like where they're at. Or say you mark it in practice, you can come back to the exact spot, literally line up on that exact spot where you marked the fish and make the same exact cast as you did in practice and catch some fish.
Let's clear something up right away. You weren't sandbagging in that tournament at all. There were a few comments on the page that you were sandbagging some, or some people were.
I wasn't intentionally.
Yeah, you didn't have service, right?
I didn't have. I could get some texts through. I could occasionally load the leaderboard, but I tried submitting fish. Like I tried on the first day, probably like 10 different times. I'd have a little bit of phone signal. I'd get a text through, my phone would vibrate. I'd notice it. I'm like, all right, check it. Okay. I have like 1 bar of service or something. Let me try to submit a fish. And it just keeps spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning. I was like, come on, really? Like, it's
that'll kill your battery too. I'll tell you from experience. If you keep trying to submit the fish, it'll kill your battery just trying to send it through. So be aware of that.
Yeah, I think that's what happened to Drew Gregory.
I was going to say maybe that's what happened to Drew. He was running dead there half the day.
Yeah,
it happened. What's funny? You having no service. Excuse me. My throat's caught with a lozenge.
Sure it is.
It seemed like, people, you were wire to wire winner at this thing.
Yeah.
But it almost didn't have that vibe because both days Vanyo put his stuff up early.
Yeah.
And he put up 98 early and then 103 early. But you won this thing wire to wire and actually extended your lead.
Yeah. Yeah. Surprisingly, I didn't think it was possible to catch 100 inches 2 days in a row in that spot. I knew it was a good spot and I could pull out at least mid 90s, hopefully both days. That was what I was thinking. That's what I was shooting for, mid 90s. And it just so happened I was catching fish back there and I wasn't really adding up my fish or anything. And I couldn't submit them. I just had them sitting in the live well. I decided, I can't remember what time it was, but I decided just to get my calculator out on my phone, just add all these fish up. And I was sitting at like 97 or something like that. And I was like, okay, like I've already set myself up pretty good for day 2. And I was able to load the leaderboard and saw that Joey had the 98. And I was like, well, I'm an inch behind him. Even if I don't catch another fish, I'm still right in there to make a run for day 2, hopefully. And then I ended up culling and getting 99 out of that first spot that I was talking about practicing. And then I decided the bite kind of slowed down a little bit. And I was like, I don't want to beat up on these fish too bad. So I had moved to a different spot that I practiced at. And I caught I think a 21 or 21 and a half at. So I just drove 15 minutes up the road, put in there. 5 minutes into being at that spot, I caught, I think, a 19 3/4, something like that. And I was like, okay, it's on at this spot. I'm going to be able to cull way up. I think that culled me up to the 101 3/4 that I had. But I didn't have it. I think I had one bite I missed after that back there. And then I caught a pickerel. That was it. I was kind of disappointed that I didn't get any more back there, but hey, it got me over the hump to over 100, which once I had 99, man, like you have that drive to hit 100.
What time was that? What time was it when you had 99?
Probably about 12-ish.
Okay, so that's what I was wondering. Like, you weren't like rushing, like, I got to hit this other spot. I have to hit 100. Like, you had a few hours to kill. Like, you could either go back, take a nap, or go ahead and bust 100.
Yeah, I think it was then. I remember when I put in at the second spot, I had about an hour and a half left in the day because it took me, probably 15 minutes to load up and everything, and 15 minutes to drive over there and put back in and all that.
Throwing the day one leaderboard up there while you're talking about it, Bryan.
John Allen said the closest that he'll ever come to 100 is shaking your hand. He didn't say that. I made that part up, but he would have said that if he thought of it.
Yeah.
The Allen boys think pretty highly of you. Is there something that we need to know there? Do you guys have some sort of super close neighborhood relationship, or what's going on?
No, I've like met them a few times in person, hung out with them at tournaments like once or twice, whatever. Like I mean,
they say you're top 3 in the country.
Yeah, that's what they've been saying. That's yeah.
I mean, I didn't believe the hype until about 24 hours ago.
Yeah, I think most people probably didn't believe the hype until 24 hours ago.
Heck yeah, that's a pretty solid way to make a statement on the biggest elite level trail, the biggest check that Hobie's put out for a trail series. Taking that one home in dominant fashion is definitely a way to make your mark.
Yeah, like the whole week. I think in practice that first day I had like 97 inches and I shook off a couple. So it was like I knew I had some good fish, and everybody at the house, like, because I was staying with a few other people, and everybody at the house like, oh, you're gonna win this tournament, you got this. I'm like, I don't know, don't get ahead of yourselves. Like, I normally, you catch them like crazy in practice, and then tournament day rolls along, and it literally happened to me a week ago at Decker for the Cats event. I caught like 102, 103 in practice. Tournament day, I lost one and had, I think, 3 fish only for all day.
I feel you, bud.
So at least you're human. You're human. That's good.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes
that's fishing.
that.
Like, people don't ever remember you getting your ass. I mean, people remember when I get my ass whipped because I like to talk a lot of trash, but people usually don't remember your loss. They remember your wins. Like, if they think of your name, they think of the big wins. They don't think of 40 times that you didn't get a limit. They think of when you won 10 grand or 20 grand or whatever.
Yeah, 100%. Like, everyone just only thinks of the highs, not the lows. And I remember, I don't know if it was on the KBN page, one of the pages, they were talking about it like, oh, why is everyone so humble? And they say somebody says because nobody remembers all the lows except for the angler, that angler. Everyone just sees all the first places and top 10s and everything. They're like, oh wow, you're really smashing them. They don't see when you're down there in 50th place or something. Nobody scrolls down that far on the leaderboard. Come on.
Thank God.
There's a few Tourney X stat creepers out there.
Gosh, though. They're mostly online, I think.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
I'm assuming your wife is Taylor, by the way.
Yes. Is she in the comments?
she was in the comments.
Oh, what'd she say? I need to throw that up there. Oh, there we go. Real recognize real. That's right.
Yeah, she's in the living room talking trash right now.
I like it.
Yeah, I think she's in the other room just laying down watching on her phone.
So how long have you been together, and how does she support your fishing craze?
Well, we've been together, I think, like 7 years, almost 8 years now.
That's a good run.
And yeah, our wedding anniversary is coming up in like 11 days.
Oh, so what else is coming up in 11 days? I think there's a fishing tournament somewhere.
Yeah. And she's super supportive. She's always hyping me up like, oh, you're so good and all this stuff. I'm like, You feel like I'm like, I don't know, I'm okay, I'm decent.
So she's like having an Allen brother right there at home.
Yeah, pretty much.
just a constant hype man right there.
That's
Yeah,
good.
my
That's awesome.
cheerleading squad,
That's
Taylor
awesome.
and the Allen brothers, and a couple other guys.
You know, what's funny is, golly, it's been.
Sean Allen.
Yeah, I
Does
saw
she have a
that.
sister? Oh God.
That's right, Taylor. She said, "You keep bringing home checks. How can I not?" She's in there. I like it.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah, exactly. She's like, if you bring home checks, it's fine. She's like, if you don't do good, like,
Oh, hey, Chris Morales just dropped a bomb. He said he's from the West Coast. Y'all Texas people quit taking credit.
So when did you start? That's a very good segue. When did you start fishing or kayak fishing? And were you that successful on the West Coast? Because I know a lot of those California guys can't fish for shit. So did you hone your skills in Texas, or was it already happening in California?
I feel like definitely in California, I built like the basis for learning just how to catch fish. And I definitely, the lake I used to fish in California, it's a bowl, really. There's nothing to it other than grass in the north end. The whole north end is just a big old grass flat. So that's why I love fishing grass. That's why I'm good at fishing grass, because I grew up fishing it for, I don't know, 10 plus years there. And there's a little bit of riprap and some other stuff. So I'm really comfortable around riprap and grass. And there's like 1 point maybe, kind of on the whole lake. And I definitely, I did well out there. I was known in like the float tube community.
Oh,
okay.
Because I hadn't kayak fished at all in California. I just had a float tube. And at Castaic Lake, at Castaic Lagoon, there's like an upper lake and then a lower lake. And the lower lake's like 200 acres or so. And every year they have 3 tournaments there, like one in the spring, one in the summer, and one kind of late summer, like early fall. And those would, sometimes have 30 to 50 people. And I would never do well in the spring tournament. Honestly, I'm like, it was always during the spawn, and I'm not a sight fisherman really. And I just don't do well during the spawn. I do really well in the summertime and like pre-spawn, post-spawn. So the June tournament, they always have a June tournament. I got a lot of plaques from that, trophies, like from the June one and the September one. And I think it was maybe 2017 or so. I won Angler of the Year for that series, just because I think I won the June one and the September one. I did okay at the April one. And like that was, to me, that was awesome, because it's hard to win AOY in any series. You have to be consistent all year long.
Yep.
Explain how that works in float tubes. Did y'all literally weigh them, or was it CPR or what?
Oh, so we weighed them, but the way it works is you launch from the beach, like the swim beach area, kind of, and there's weigh boats out there. So like there's volunteers that would be in bass boats or little aluminum boats or whatever. I think one of the years we had like a big drought and they couldn't launch any boats on the lake because the water level was so low. So they had weigh kayaks. So there would be guys designated there with, a scale, like an official scale, and you'd either wave them over to you or they had whistles, but you didn't want to be blowing the whistle because
flare guns.
Yeah, you'd blow the whistle and you'd have 20 guys around you,
Cali stays wild.
Yeah, so you'd be sometimes like kind of quiet about it. You'd like wave over to them and try not to make any noise. And some guys would keep their fish on like a stringer or in like a mesh bag. I mean, we didn't have the donkey leash? We didn't have that back then or anything, or at least that I know of. So I would always use a mesh bag, and sometimes you'd have, like 3 big bass just chilling in the mesh bag, like dragging behind your float tube.
Those are my favorite tournaments.
That whole thing
that?
sounds like it would work, and that whole thing's like sounds like it would work on Duke series. You need to get him to implement that whole process.
How
He's
long?
locked.
How
Yeah.
long have you been in Texas?
About almost 2.5 years, not quite.
How would you compare the tourney scene in California versus Texas?
It's completely different. California, like in Texas, everybody fishes, everybody, and the kayak scene's huge. Everybody kayaks. Like in California, you say you fish, and they're like, "Oh, that's weird." Like they don't understand it. People don't get it. You get
It's
made fun of.
outside. You do what? Oh my God! You hurt those fish?
Yeah, exactly. And like in high school and stuff, like people would make fun of me sometimes, like, oh, why are you always fishing? Oh, you love fish and all this stuff. I'm like, it's fun. Like, what do you mean? There's nothing weird about fishing. Like people didn't get it. It's not a lifestyle in California. In Texas, fishing and hunting is a lifestyle,
Oh yeah,
like all
that's a lot of the South. A lot of
Yeah,
the South is that
definitely.
way.
It's a lifestyle.
Yeah, there's a lot of people moving to Texas. I'm sure you listen to Joe Rogan or anything, but when he first got to Texas, that's the thing that just blew him away is the unbelievable amount of outdoor activity and enthusiasm in Texas. He's like, I swear to God, you can go out and shoot anything you want to, anytime.
Yeah, it's crazy. I didn't know it was like this before I moved, honestly. Like I kind of knew it was different, but I didn't know it was like everybody goes fishing and stuff. Even if like they don't like fishing, at least they have been before, like just gone out and chucked a worm out there or cut bait or something for catfish, whatever.
Yeah. Well, now you're
Taylor
Texas,
said
man.
y'all moved to Texas just for the fishing because California was trash.
That was part of the reason for sure. Honestly.
That's hilarious. What brought you to Texas? Did you have a lifelong dream of being a cowboy or what got you out there?
I just decided that I was unhappy in California. I didn't like it. I was just thinking, why do I live here? Like there's honestly, I was like, I don't like, you feel like you don't belong or like you're trapped in your house because the traffic's so bad and it just didn't feel like where I should be and where I fit in and everything. And so I was like, man, I told Taylor, I was like, I'm not happy here. She was like, oh, what's wrong? Like I was kind of depressed a little bit, And she was like, oh, what's wrong? I was like, I don't like being here. Like the only reason I live in California is because I was born here and my family's here. That's it. And there was really, other than the weather in California and family and friends, there's not the beach too. The beach is nice, but other than that,
all right. Other than those 10 things, I didn't like anything else.
Other than those 10 things, there's not much in California that I think is good.
Well, you're a full-on Texan now, man. All those guys and gals down there seem to embrace you.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah, it's really
they're claiming you
they're
now.
all
They got
really
bumper
welcoming.
stickers on their truck. Big Richard Howell on their bumper sticker.
everybody that refers to you, they say Big Stick Howell. Do you know where that came from?
Yeah, Clifton.
Okay.
Yeah, Clifton was the first one to say it. He said it and it's stuck ever since. Like I thought it was the funniest thing after he said it. And apparently other people like it too because they started saying it. Everybody knows me as Big Stick Howell now.
Clifton is still banned from Facebook right now, but he's been in my DMs all afternoon. He's so excited for this episode. So Jeff, keep an eye on the YouTube comments because that's where we'll have to find Clifton. He tried to make a burner account, but Facebook wouldn't let him. I agreed to accept him, but he wouldn't.
I'll throw some of his highlights up in the comments for you guys. Yeah, he's all up in the YouTube comments. So Clifton,
I knew he would be. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Clifton.
Yeah, I've been seeing them pop up.
There you go.
What club do you fish with in Texas? What's your little local set there?
I just fish mainly North Texas and East Texas because I live like on the east side of DFW. So I'm like an hour from Fork, 3.5 hours maybe from Rayburn. I don't know if you know. I assume you know a lot of lakes in Texas, but
Been there a couple times.
Lake of the Pines, I'm like 2 hours from there. Lake Athens, where they had the championship round for MLF, I'm like an hour and 15 minutes from there. That's one of my favorite
So
lakes.
you're in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, I'm in a good spot. I'm like close enough to the city and where everything's going on, you know, but also close enough where I can just drive out to some of the best bass fishing in the world, like an hour from my house.
How far are you from tight ends? Because that was my last memory of Dallas.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
That's the right answer.
Good, Taylor. He doesn't know what I'm talking about. Don't Google it.
Don't Google.
Well, let's get into day 2, man. We kind of got off into the Cali, Texas talk. We didn't even talk about day 2.
Yeah.
Listening to the weigh-in, it sounded like day 2 didn't really go as planned, at least for the first little bit, right?
No, it was completely different, honestly. Like first hour or two, I didn't have a single bite, and I was struggling hard. I was thinking to myself, like, man, I need to do something. I need to change something up. I need to get at least a bite to tell me what I need to do, because I can't win the tournament without catching 5. I knew Joey was going to probably put up another big limit. I didn't know he was going to put up 103 1/4. I thought he was going to put up maybe mid 90s at best, but he smoked them.
Didn't he say after day 1 though? Didn't he post a video saying that he pretty much quit at like 9 or 10 and
something
went
like
to the
that?
house?
Yeah,
I thought there was something like he was just managing his fish and was like, man, I'll get him tomorrow.
The one thing that made me know that he was, at least he thought he was on something, and which he was on something, was when I posted the screenshot at the end of the day on the KBN group of the leaderboard with Brian's name, you know, with my little emoji next to it. He laughed at the picture.
I saw that shit.
And I thought, man, my man. I kind of like that. I kind of like the little cockiness that he was laughing at the picture.
He was definitely confident that he had it in the bag from what I've heard and talked to him and everything. He's very confident. Like I wasn't confident like that, you know. Like I was like definitely have a shot, but I wasn't like, oh, I'm going out there and 100%, I'm smashing them and winning. I was like, I was shooting for, like, I wanted to win, but I really just wanted a top 3 to qualify for the TOC, you know, and get a good check. I mean, top 3, you got, like, all those checks were good. They were all more than enough to cover my trip, and then some, and then some, and then some. Cover all my trips for the year, you know, like with any of those checks.
So as you started figuring things out, you know, when did it make the turn on day 2?
Well, I think about, like I said, like an hour or 2 in, not a bite. I switched over. I figured I'd just start with the jackhammer again, because that's what I threw on day 1. And I just grinded that in all the spots I had back in that backwater area, and not a bite. I switched over to a red lipless bait, and maybe 10, 15 minutes into that, I picked up like a 20 something. I was like, okay,
in that same area, like you were still on that same the good hole. They just weren't even swatting at a jackhammer. I wasn't in that
back hole. There was another area like that was real close to the bank. Like it seemed sort of like the creek channel would run up next to there, but I don't think there was even a creek channel back there necessarily. So maybe it's a little hole on the right side of the backwater area where most of it in that backwater, the grass went completely across the bottom, you know, from one side to the other. It'd be a little not as tall in the middle of in the middle of that whole area, but it'd still be grass there. But other than that bank, it was just bare. Like you had a good bare spot where it was like 10 feet deep or so, and maybe like 10 feet wide where there's no grass. It was just a hard edge. So I was just chucking the lipless over there, and that fish just smoked it and had it way down its throat. I was like, okay, at the time I was like, oh, this is a kicker, you know. I think that was one of my smaller fish in my limit on day 2. But at the time I was like, okay, that's a kicker right there. Like all I need is a few other decent ones and I can get mid 90s. And I thought at the time all I needed probably was mid 90s to potentially win, or at least have that top 3 for sure. I had no clue at that time. I don't think that Joey had, 103 already because he put that up first 2 hours.
Yeah. So you hadn't had a peek at that yet because it was early.
I don't think I had a peek at that yet.
Okay.
I don't think I had a peek at that until maybe a while, like an hour after that or something. And I was like I thought something was wrong. I thought it was a joke. I honestly did not believe it.
You thought he Conrad Benedict you and entered like a 1,200-inch fish or something?
Yeah, I thought something was wrong. I was like, there is no way he has 103 this early into the tournament. There's no way. I was like, I would have expected maybe if he had mid-90s or something. I was like, okay, that's believable. 103 and a quarter or whatever he had. It just wasn't believable to me. I had to refresh it a couple times.
And then you said, you know what? I got a little more gas left in the tank. Let's go ahead and hang it on this old boy.
Yeah, I think after that, I just threw the lipless around some more because I had that one bite pretty quickly. I think I caught maybe a 16 or 17. Kept chucking it, hoping to get more. I didn't have another bite. I went all to my juice spot in the back, the very back, Didn't have a bite on the lipless again. I was like, this is not good. Like,
what lipless
figured,
were you throwing? Mark Springer asked.
So I actually have it right here.
Oh, the juice.
Bought it in the house, literally when I got home.
Prepared.
Hang on a minute.
Very
Let me
prepared.
get this. We're getting you on the solo layout for
It's
that.
just the red eye shad, the tungsten 2-tap. It's all rashed up. The red Rayburn red. I mean, you can't go wrong.
That one's been chewed on. It looks
screen.
like that definitely caught a bite there.
Just gave you the juice right there.
Yeah, I've caught a lot of fish on that bait so far.
Let's get this guy a paid sponsorship here.
I'll tell you the most interesting thing not the most, but one of the most interesting things I heard, me and Ryan were talking about it before we came on, was towards the end of when they were interviewing there at the weigh-in. You said that you switched from a jackhammer to a thunder cricket.
Yes.
Explain that move because you don't hear that often. It's jackhammer.
I didn't know people bought thunder crickets. That's what surprised me.
Yeah, so I have about 3 thunder crickets in my box.
What happened? Was it the stimulus, the stimulus thing, or what? What happened? How did we end up with thunder crickets?
Well, I figured. I mean, I honestly, the first time when the thunder cricket first came out, like that first week it came out, I bought one, and I went out to Lake of the Pines. My first time there. I was just chucking around the one I think it's the bruiser color, like the half green pumpkin, half black blue.
Yeah. I
was just chucking that thing around. It was my first time there. I had no clue what I was really doing. I was like just exploring. My buddy from California came out to visit. I was like, the wind was really bad on most of the other lakes closer to my house. So I was like, let's just drive out further east where the wind's not as bad. I was just chucking that thing around. And I think I caught like a 7.5 after I finally figured something out. It was like the first bite of the day, 7.5 pounder. I was like, okay, I like this bait and this area is good. I kept chucking that the rest of the day. I caught like a 6, another 7.5 at the end of the day on it. I had like a 25-pound bag on that thing the first time I took it out, and I was like, I think it was 27 pounds. I forgot. I think it was on my Instagram. I posted like a story of it. I don't remember exactly, but I smoked them that day. And
what's the difference in the action? Like, what made you in your head think, like, was it a different color, or were you just like, the thunder cricket can do this? Like, they're tired of seeing a jackhammer. Is it a different action? Does it vibrate more or less? Like, what is it that's different about it?
Yeah, it definitely has more of a tight vibration to it.
Gotcha. Okay.
Jackhammers, like the jackhammer, you really feel it like thumping that rod. And it's more aggressive, I guess you'd say. Then you get the thunder cricket and it's a lot faster. You really feel it moving. Like, it doesn't vibrate your rod tip as much, and it's just real
like
quick
a flat-sided crankbait or something.
Yeah, almost. I love throwing flat sides like in the wintertime. So I kind of thought about that. And honestly, somebody posted on the KBN page, I think it was, I'm pretty sure, that at Kissimmee, a bunch of guys were fishing the area throwing jackhammers. They didn't have a single bite. Somebody else came through with a thunder cricket. It was catching them. So I had it in my head like, oh, I was like, that's a dang good idea.
Damn.
Like, maybe I'll keep that in my back pocket for the tournament in case it gets tough or something. They don't want to hit the jackhammer.
Turned out
So
to be
whoever
pretty
posted
clutch.
that, I appreciate it.
Yeah, right. You better send them like $50 or something anyway.
Shoot,
Drop your
really?
PayPal in the comments.
There's 107 people watching this stream right now. They're all going to go buy a Thunder Cricket at Academy Sports after this is over.
Probably.
But listen,
right?
y'all need to go buy 10 Jackhammers. Just buy one damn Thunder Cricket. That is the backup of backup plans right there.
I bought that Thunder Cricket maybe a week ago, 2 weeks ago. I got it for fishing on, I don't know. I guess I'll give away some of my secrets. I was fishing on Athens a few weeks back, just throwing the green pumpkin, 1/2 ounce jackhammer. I was killing them on it, and I decided I had been fishing the lake a lot recently. I was like, maybe the fish have been used to my bait or whatever. I can switch it up, try something else. And so I went on Tackle Warehouse, ordered up like 1 or 2 green pumpkin Thunder Crickets. And I was like, I'll just try this at Athens one day. Well, I hadn't even been back to Athens yet since I bought them, and just had them in my box and brought them down with me to Seminole. I literally it was a brand new Thunder Cricket. I hadn't thrown green pumpkin in practice, nothing. I was just thinking, why not switch up color and the vibration and see what happens? And I think it was 5 minutes into switching over to that Thunder Cricket, I had another 20 and some change, I think, just off like a corner of it was like just pads, and it was a clump of pads and hydrilla all mixed together kind of. I just chucked it over there, and it's like, okay, this is working. I threw the jackhammer 2 hours, not a bite. I threw that for 5 minutes. I already have one.
What trailer are you throwing on that thing?
The Yamamoto, Zako, however you want to pronounce it.
Yeah.
I throw that in the Menace. That's really it.
People
Have
are going
you tried
bananas.
the Razor Shad? And I may save you some money here. Have you tried the Z-Man Razor Shad?
I have.
I like that. I like that one myself because you can put one trailer on there and leave it on there for months. That's
true.
One reason I recommend it.
I went through quite a few trailers because the pickerel in my spot were just thick. Like I caught.
Did they not steal the whole jackhammer?
I didn't lose a single bait.
Dude, I had 3 or 4 pickerel just freaking snatch a jackhammer. I mean, cut the line instantly.
Yeah, I was throwing 20-pound line, like 20-pound. Oh, I throw it on a braid to leader, so it's easier to rip out of grass and everything.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So I was throwing it on 20-pound leader, just for the fact. I mean, it's clear water back where I was, but I figured I don't want to be losing these things to these dang pickerel all day. So I just put on the 20-pound, and it was getting bites. So I just kept with it.
I usually throw 17 to 20, but I do straight fluoro, but that's just my own personal preference. I used to do braid to fluoro, but I don't know. I don't like messing with a leader knot on the water. I get pissed off trying to tie a leader knot.
I don't like tying the knot on the water. Honestly, on day 2, I had retied so many times that my leader was super short. So I just took a reel off one of the rods I wasn't using that already had a leader tied on, and just switched the reel from one rod to the other real quick instead of tying up a new knot. Because sometimes if I tie a knot at my house, or day before the tournament, wherever, I can make sure it's all super tight and perfect and looks good. But when you're on the water, it's a little harder to do that. So I have more confidence in just picking up. I was throwing 2 rods only really the whole tournament, and I brought 8 with me on my kayak. So it was like, why not?
That's every kayak angler, I'm pretty sure, is how that works.
Yeah. I had like a backup plan, a backup for that backup plan, 20 other things like I was thinking about.
I know this. The people in the comments are going bananas. Taylor's saying cut the feed, no secrets.
Yeah, I'm probably already gave away too much.
Nah, man, you still got to find them, and you still got to catch them.
And I mean, there are people in life that are just anointed by the fish gods. I think you're one of them. We got a couple others. Jody Queen's one. Russ Snyder's, like people that it seems like they can go anywhere at any time, and no matter how tough the bite is, they still manage to figure out how to catch the fish. And that's, I mean, clearly you showed that propensity, as tough as that tournament was. And I mean, the weather was freaking awful for 2 days. I don't think we had 15 minutes of good weather out of a 2-day tournament.
Yeah, it was cold and rainy, and I generally don't go fun fishing in weather like that. I stay at home. But
Exactly.
day,
It's not fun in weather like that. That's
yeah,
why
it's
you
not
don't.
fun fishing anymore. You're just out there freezing, and sometimes if you're not catching them, that's the worst. When
We
it's
got some
cold and
questions coming
rainy,
in,
you're
some
not catching
technical
them.
questions, Jeff. Throw those
Yeah.
up.
All right, let's see here. You see that, Brian? What reel speed are you throwing that Thunder Cricket on?
I always just throw my Jackhammers, my Thunder Crickets, any chatterbaits on a 7-to-1 gear ratio, 7.3, 7.4, something like that. Honestly, I'm not super technical about stuff like that. I'm just like, if it's 7-to-1, 7 point anything to 1, it's all good.
If the handle turns, yeah, you got it.
Like
And
8-to-1, 8-to-1's too fast to me for that. You could throw it on a 6-to-1, but 7-to-1 it just feels right for me. The way
I
fish it
usually
in
only
there.
take out 2 or 3 combos myself. And one day I backlashed the dog shit out of the Corrado K I was throwing, and I didn't want to mess with picking the knot out. And I looked behind me. I had a spinning rod and I had a freaking I think it was a Revo rocket, like 2-to-1. And I was like, man, I'm gonna try it on this. And I threw it out, man, and it was just like freaking, like a buzzbait on top of the water. I was like, this is
Yeah.
I quit.
It
I
doesn't
give up.
work.
I'm gonna go. We'll just go to a Texas rig from now on.
You see Garrett's comment there, Brian?
Yep. So I used to fish out of a Hobie Outback, and maybe 5 months ago or so, I got the new Hobie PA 14 360. So that's an awesome boat to fish out of. You can you're so maneuverable. You can just get in and out of that cover and around that grass, just move anywhere you want without breaking out the paddle ever, pretty much, unless you bog that drive down in the grass, like the mats, the thick stuff. That's when you break out the paddle. Other than that, you just get all through that grass and thread the needle between the little gap between 2 little mats, and you're just going straight through like it's nothing.
I'm a born and bred hater, and I tried so hard. Even when I left Native, I tried so hard not to buy in on the 360 hype. Like AJ had a couple boats, and I was like, give me the 180 drive. Like, I don't give a shit about a 360. And then I fished out of the 180 and it was fine. But there are those scenarios when the wind is ridiculous, or the current's ridiculous. And I'm like, man, now I can see where being able to go sideways would actually benefit me. And that's what I ended up in myself is a 14 360.
Yeah,
you're right.
Sure. Yeah. I honestly, I don't think I'd like fishing out of a pro angler unless it was a 360, because the Outback's real maneuverable and doesn't get blown around in the wind too bad,
I love the Outback. If there are 3 new owners of Hobie listening, if there was like an Outback 360,
that if they had an
ice
Outback
cold
360,
sun,
I'd be all over an Outback 360, dude. That's like the dream right there. Because I do miss the speed of the Outback for sure, because that thing is fast.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you can honestly, like, you can carry it easily. Like, you can grab that side handle and actually carry something to the water versus having to have a cart or a ramp or whatever to launch.
Yeah, I helped my buddy Wayne load his Outback. We have the exact same Outback, 2019, the blue one, and I helped him load it on his trailer. And I was just picking up. I'm like, man, I forgot how light this thing was. Been picking up that heavy old PA.
Dude, I fished with a guy
weighs more than me, dude. Like fully loaded.
We put in on the river. I fished way up the Flint, way up the Flint. And I'm minimal. I carry like a Plano Guide Series bag and like 4 rods. That's it. My buddy Nick Dyer, he stayed with us. He was launching with me, and he has an Outback, and he had at least 300 pounds of crap in that. I mean, it was rods sticking up everywhere, just bags of soft plastics, a huge freaking crate, a Humminbird, big Humminbird, a huge 23 amp hour battery. And I'm like, what's the point of even having the Outback if you're going to put all this other stuff in it? Because then you lose the efficiency of that boat, I feel like.
Yeah, you probably do. I mean, in the Outback, if you just have a small crate or something and just a simple 7 or 9 inch graph and I mean, on the Outback, I didn't even run the anchor or nothing. I had a power pole. I mean, you have to have a power pole fishing out here. I mean, if you're fishing shallow and you don't have a power pole, you're messing up, honestly.
Whataburger or In-N-Out?
Taylor already answered that for him already.
Now listen, Jeff. Damn it, you spoil everything.
All right.
Yeah,
I want to know his opinion.
All right. Let's hear it, Brian.
Whataburger for sure.
Oh, we got a house
I don't know.
divided.
The burger's just so big and juicy.
I don't know if you saw this one, but it's a house divided.
You heard that? Okay.
Like In-N-Out's good. Don't get me wrong. In-N-Out is definitely good, and it's definitely cheaper too, more affordable. But I mean,
More affordable. Yeah, we're talking about fast food cheeseburgers. That one is more affordable. I don't care what you say.
Blake Knight summed it up. In-N-Out is the Thunder Cricket. Whataburger is Jackhammer.
He's not wrong, honestly. They're both good, but one's a little more, I don't know, a little more quality than the other, I guess.
A little more meat on the bones.
Yeah, a little more meat on the bone.
I got you.
Too funny.
What are your plans for the rest of the year?
Fish some local events, go fish Broken Bow for Hobie, Dardanelle, hopefully, Rayburn, fish the Fork event for Bassmaster.
I'm thinking about hitting that one. I'm real close on hitting that one.
You should. I mean, it's
I've
Fork.
heard all the stuff. I know. I mean, I've seen the giant bags and heard all the stories, and turkey season's not lining up with that Broken Bow event, so I don't know if it's worth me making the trip to Broken Bow, but I think maybe shoot for a Fork on the Bass event might work out a little better.
That one's killing me because I'm definitely going to be a Broken Bow, and I just can't get back-to-back weeks off to get down there to Fork, even though
it back-to-back weeks?
It's one's the weekend after the other. So.
I think Eric Thomason and Marshall, they're talking about doing both. They're talking about coming in a day before and hitting Broken Bow and then staying and going down to Fork and pre-fish that way. I'd like to do that, but I have what's called a job right now, so I'm trying to not lose that. It's
the same thing that's happening with Rayburn and Louisville, back-to-back, like days apart.
I ain't gonna lie to you, man. Like, I don't have any intentions of fishing Louisville at that time. If they don't switch lakes or something, I mean, I'm not gonna make that drive for that lake. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, tough.
Yeah, summertime, like it's a party lake, So
yeah, I hadn't, and I'd love to go just to the party part, but if I'm actually going to pay for a fishing tournament, I'm probably not going to do that. So I may fly out like Friday and rent a pontoon boat and go out there and have a good time. And
just watch everybody fishing.
Me and John and Clifton will rent a pontoon boat and go out and just heckle people all day.
Yeah,
but I'm probably not going to fish the tournament.
Spectator boat, just go out there.
God, that'd be awesome. Go live all day.
Yeah. That'd be funny.
Blake Knight's pumping you up at Fork. Said you might go over 110 at Fork, Brian.
I mean, my biggest limit at Fork
is 125, so I might.
Yeah, I wish.
How do you feel about Fork? How confident are you in Fork?
Not very.
Okay.
Come on, dude. The first time I met you was down there. You smashed at Fork. That was in the fall, but still.
Yeah, I smashed at Fork in the fall and in the summertime.
Yeah.
But springtime, man, like middle of the spawn, I mean.
Get up there and throw in the dirt. You don't have to look at them. That's the thing about spawn fishing. Don't make eye contact, but just throw where you think they're going to be.
I know, but those dudes that are looking at them are out. It's not that I do poorly necessarily. It's that there's some dudes that just absolutely smash them,
Yeah.
I still do okay. I mean, in a tournament, a different time of year, maybe it would be a good limit, but during then, I mean, those people put up 100 inches. They're just out there looking at them like, there's a 20. Oh, there's a 22. They're just picking and choosing. They'll pick 5 good ones out there and like, okay, I'll spend my time on these 5
I think it was, wasn't it Cody Milton that posted something like that last year? Like, he went back into an area and saw like, I saw 24 back over here the other day, like shit like that. I don't do that. I'll find like a pad flat or something where I think they're going to be pulling up spawning, and I'll just go kind of blind cast. I don't like being seen. I don't like, casting at them on purpose. My best bedding fish on Chickamauga, I knew they were betting on this riprap bank, and I just threw a Ned rig all the way up the bank and blindly hooked a 8.5 pound fish. But
Yeah.
I don't like sight casting. It frustrates me. I see them come pick the bait up and carry it off the bed. And then I sit there for like 2 hours just freaking, going after the same fish. And that's not my style.
I agree with Chris. Chris's comment there. That's good stuff. Like a true Texan.
Magellan Fish. Yes.
Oh, that's hilarious. I want to hear the story on this fish real quick, man. Hang on a second. Let's see if I can pull this up again. And then about the weigh-in itself. How about this monster? Was this the final push that put you over the hump for day 2 right here? This 23.5?
It did, but I ended up catching like 2 more over 19 after that one. So technically, I wouldn't have actually needed that fish to win.
Holy crap. I thought that was going to be like V1.
No, I mean, at that
technically,
time,
I didn't need that 23. That's always a good story to tell.
Yeah.
Just a bonus 23.5.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, I think I had like high 90s or something. I think maybe 97. I don't know. I knew I remember thinking like I needed a 20-incher to get ahead of Joey. And then I was fishing around my whole area. I wasn't getting bit and time was running low. I was like, man, this sucks. I'm not getting bit. What do? I need to go back to my best spot in the back where it's that big hole in the back over there. And I was just like, screw it. I'm going to just cast along the way as I go back there. Because like I said at the weigh-in, like if your line's not in the water, you're not getting bit. If you're just pedaling and not doing anything, you can't get bit doing that. So I was like, screw it. I'm just going to start casting off on all this grass on my left-hand side all the way up. I just started working that and just casting. All of a sudden, I'm hooked up, and I had no clue it was a 23.5. I knew it was pretty big. It felt big, but it had me wrapped on a stump at first. So you never know. You have that feeling, on your line. You just feel it through your rod, kind of wrapped up on there. I was like, oh shit, I need to pull it off of there. And then after it came off that stump, it immediately went to this super thick mat of grass, and I had to just pull him out of there. Got him to the boat. I saw it was big. I got it in the net. I knew it was over 20. All I needed was something over 20 is what I thought. So I started screaming. I was like, that's her. That's the one I needed.
That's what I wanted to know is how high did you, I mean, if I get one over like 21 or 22 in the boat, like when I grab that out of the net, I mean, I'm embarrassed for myself for the stuff I say on the water. Like I know, I just get ignorant. I don't know what happens. I revert to my childhood and I let it go.
Yeah, same. I just sometimes when you get a key fish like that, like you need just one more kicker or something, you start going crazy. You don't even know what you're saying. You're just too high.
I don't care if it's my first fish of the damn day. That's how I get. Like if I put a big one in the boat on tournament day, the gloves are off. There ain't no telling what's about to come out of my mouth.
Yeah. So and after that, like I don't know how to take a breather. You do that, and it put me, I don't know, like 101 and some change or something like that. I was like, hell yeah! Like there's like if Joey still had a chance for sure to cull up and still beat me, so I knew I couldn't stop. But at the time, I guess I was fine, but I had no clue that I was fine. You never know. He was out there. He had 103. He could have put up 110 for all I knew, and like when the leaderboard went down or something.
Yep, you're right.
Did y'all talk before the announcement was made? Did you know who won?
Yeah, we kind of chatted before outside and kind of going over our days and stuff. I asked him if he had culled anymore, and he told me no. I was like,
y'all were feeling it out. Did you just grin at him like, oh shit, son?
Yeah,
bad news on this one.
So did you straight up tell him you had 103 and that he was donezo, or did you just wait until AJ gave you the?
I broke 100 again.
Yeah.
You didn't crack a beer open and pour it over his head when he said he didn't call up anymore. Sorry, Joey.
Because he had that early morning bite, and he didn't like his bite shut off and mine turned on. Like when his shut off, mine turned on. That wind, when the wind picked up more, mine just got better.
That's awesome. That is,
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
like watching the whole thing play out was crazy. And I wish you had service. I would have freaking loved to have seen the engagement on people watching as you
I
like
know.
creep up and then pass him and then pass him and then pass him again. that would have been
interesting,
pretty
sure.
solid.
Ryan always says the next level of the sport is cameras in the boat somehow.
It will be.
So
Write it down. Write that
that'll be
down.
stuff.
It will be. I
Yeah,
might not know much, but I do know that.
Yeah.
But as I learned myself, Saturday, they gave me a camera to put on my boat. Hobie did at the board check. And I told him, I was like, listen, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm rolling the dice. I'm going way up the river. It's going to be wild footage because there's current, there's tree. Like, I mean, it's, flood stage on the Flint, like just going crazy. It wasn't actual literal flood stage. But
Yeah.
very high water, a ton of current.
Yeah.
Took me forever to get to this spot. And of course, you got to pee on the water and whatnot. And I yelled a lot because I caught a big ass fish and I said a lot of cuss words. And then I lost a big ass fish with Brian the carpenter on the phone and said more cuss words. And I brought the camera back to Steve Fields and I was like, Steve, listen, you're going to have to delete 90% of the footage and 100% of the audio. Like, this whole day's worthless. And I apologize. That's going to be the trick with the live footage is you better have guys in a camera truck that are pretty on point and pretty comfortable with you as a person because we're going to get to see a lot of you.
They need to build in that delay. That's
for sure.
Yeah.
a quick trigger. Brian, you saw the meme yesterday that got leaked out on KBN, didn't you?
Yeah, I saw it.
The Dream Snatcher.
30 minutes or an hour after it was posted, and I just started cracking up.
My bad. Who came? And you don't have to sell them out if you don't want to, Jeff. But that was shared from another group chat, and I guess I gave away that it was Jeff that shared it. But but I was like, listen, you need to get authorization to post this, or I'm just going to do it anyway, and we'll deal with the consequences later. But
I heard back from the creator this morning. So
What'd he say?
He said it's all good, and I said I kept him anonymous.
Yeah.
And,
thank goodness. Thank you, creator, whoever you are.
Thank you, creator.
Yeah. It was funny. I don't know how Joey felt about it.
I don't know Joey, but
Joey seems like a good sport, man.
He seems
like
a
good sport. Yeah.
And listen, respect and props to that dude for smashing him 2 days in a row. His day 2 limit, he had 103 inches and a half.
Yeah.
Every fish in his limit was over 20 inches. Every fish.
Nuts.
It's insane that he actually
and
lost
I promise you, we're gonna have Joey on. You can't talk that much trash and back it up. Even if you fall short, like that's good. That's good. I mean, leading most of day 1 and nearly all of day 2 as well. That's a huge accomplishment. So that was a good show.
Nothing but respect. Sure. I mean, for 2 dudes to go over 200, it almost seemed unfair for one of y'all to have to lose with 2 of you breaking 200.
You're right. You're not wrong. It was
but if your nickname's Big Stick Hal, I mean, who you think's going to win? Joey from Minnesota or fucking Big Stick Hal from Texas? Edit that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like it was crazy to think. I was like, man, I broke 200 today. I still didn't know if I won, like you break 200 inches for a 2-day total and you still don't know if you won. That's the crazy part. Like
that was nuts.
I still can't believe it.
Made it fun to watch for sure, man.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think, we'll shout out to Zach Hall for his 3rd place too. Yeah. But I think I was like 21 inches ahead of him in the end. So it was kind of just like a battle between me and Joey going on that time because we're pretty far ahead of everybody else.
I mean, from 4th down to 11th, they were all within 4 or 5 inches of each other in the 170s.
Yeah.
And, Zach got up into the 180s, and then it was just you guys were in a different stratosphere, man. I mean, up there.
Yeah, it just felt it kind of felt personal, like just battling it out with both of us. It would have been a lot more interesting if I could have been posting, so he could have been seeing it and everything.
Yeah.
I kept trying. I was like, if I can just get one fish in, if I can submit like a 20 something, that'll like get everyone like worried and get Joey sweating a little bit.
Yeah, man.
Like,
Hey, maybe that's
the one big one on the leaderboard. Just try to get it through. I kept trying to submit. Nothing would go through, man. It was so disappointing. I think my first purchase with the my check is gonna be like a mobile hotspot or something, so I can at least have like 2 phone providers to try to submit on something else, because it was stressful. On day 2, well, on day 1, shout out to Jay Wallen for letting me use the hotspot off his phone to upload my fish, because I would have had to drive somewhere where I had good signal, where I didn't have, like, I couldn't even submit even when I had decent signal on my phone for whatever reason. So I would have had to drive all the way back to the house we were staying at to get the Wi-Fi. That was a 30-40 minute drive from where I was at. So I was like rushing, but he had phone signal in the parking lot at the ramp, because I fished the area he was fishing for like the last hour and a half of that day 1. So I asked him, I was like, do you have signal here? And if you do you mind if I use your hotspot on your phone if you have a hotspot? And he was like, I have phone signal in the parking lot. We can try it. So I'm really thankful for that, because we're able to just go up in the parking lot and submit all those fish at the very end and not have to worry about, potentially speeding on the way back to the house just to get my fish submitted.
Don't do that. Let me tell you.
that Jay Whalen's an all right guy.
Jay Whalen is a sweet boy. I don't care what they say about him. He's a very sweet boy.
But day 2, I didn't go back to that spot. So I stayed at my first spot all day long because I wasn't worried about wearing them out or anything like that. So
what cell provider do you have? That's in the questions right now.
I won't answer that because my wife works for them.
Oh, damn. Oh gosh. Tell me, please.
Taylor, I know you're watching. Throw it in the comments.
Taylor can drop it in the comments if she wants, but she's an employee. I don't want to put that company on blast and say their signal sucks or anything. But
Brian's trying not to lose sponsors right now. Mostly,
we'll blame we'll blame the towers down there in Georgia/Florida.
Yeah, for whatever reason, on day 2, I drove to a gas station where I had submitted fish last year. And I was like, I have okay phone signal. Like, it's enough to get some pictures through. I drove there. I stopped. I tried submitting. It just kept spinning and spinning and spinning. I, closed out my app, swiped it away, did everything I could. Tried it again, kept spinning. I was like, okay, like, why isn't this going through? I was getting texts through fine. I was sending
Jeff throwing them comments up. The cat's out of the bag. It's okay now. It's terrible.
Yeah.
But listen, give Taylor your business. Trust her. And I remotely trust Brian, except for the Thunder Cricket things.
If you're coming down to Fork, T-Mobile has great signal on Fork. So
that's the key.
Yeah. But I couldn't get anything through. I drove down the road a bit more. Still couldn't submit anything. It was kept spinning. I had like full bars of service, and I just couldn't understand why it wouldn't go through. I don't know if the towers were congested out there or something.
I think it was all the inches, to be honest with you. I don't think it had the bandwidth.
Too many inches.
The whole 299 inches of fish.
Yeah. It just too many inches. It couldn't go through, and so I just kept driving down the road. I ate at a bar down in Chattahoochee, Florida last year, and I remember they had Wi-Fi. I wasn't 100% sure they had Wi-Fi, but I was thinking, I was like, I'm pretty confident they had Wi-Fi. Now thinking back on it, it was kind of a stupid move to count on that as my backup plan, because I didn't know if they had Wi-Fi still. I didn't know if they're still in business, or maybe COVID got them, and they went out of business or something. I pulled up to that the bar there, and I was like across the street, I think, and I tried pulling up my Wi-Fi, and just nothing was showing up. Some other stores around that area were showing up, but they all had passwords on them. I was like, and then it looked like the stores were closed. I couldn't go in there and like ask them, hey, they were closed. It was Sunday, like a lot of that stuff's closed on Sunday. And the bar was closed too. I don't know if it was because COVID or because
you trying to risk it all. Trying to risk it all on a shady bar in Florida.
Yeah, it was honestly, it was a very stupid move. And I kind of I didn't take my time I didn't launch a ramp. I launched just like kind of off the side of the road and checked through some reeds and stuff. And I kind of just took my time loading my stuff up there because I was like, oh, I have plenty of time. It's a 5-minute drive down to where I had signal last year. I should be okay. And it's probably a 15-minute drive from there to the bar if I really had to get Wi-Fi or whatever. So I didn't take my time, but I took more time than I probably should have. I didn't rush completely. Like I was like, oh, I'll take my power pole off and do this and that, put some rods in the truck. I left my graph on and a couple rods in the boat, but I took off too much stuff and kind of just took too much time because I thought I had an hour. I was like, it's 5 minutes down the road. I'll be fine.
If bars have Yinglings and receipts, that's usually the two things that I'll walk away from a shady bar knowing that they have. It's the Wi-Fi. I probably don't even get to that point.
You don't ask that first, Ryan? What's the Wi-Fi password, please?
No, it's usually, do you have Yinglings? It stops. It also stops at that question because then it gets awkward and I leave. So
yeah.
Bryan, we've been having you on here now. It's been about an hour. We're well over an hour. It's been a great interview. I want to hold.
Listen, he had the longest limit in the Hobie BOS history. He should have the longest limit on KBN Live.
We can go another 45 minutes for all I care. But I know this man just drove 12 hours, so I don't want to hold him hostage all night long. It's been a great interview. Any more comments out there? I know there's still a bunch of people on here. Throw them to us. We'll try to get them in real quick. But we want to keep this man
shout outs, Bryan. What do you got? Who
I want to finish this the end of the story because honestly, it's too much. But I was at that bar trying to submit, and like I said, I couldn't find the Wi-Fi, and then all of a sudden I got like one tiny little bar of Wi-Fi, and it said like no internet connection or something. I was having issues, so I pulled directly in front of the bar, and I had 12 minutes left to submit my fish, and I was like I was on the verge of having a mental breakdown, just trying to get these fish submitted. AJ was texting me. He's like, dude, do you have any fish today? All this stuff. And I was able to screenshot my live well on Tourney X. And I sent that to him. And he's like, oh, okay. You caught him today. I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm trying to submit them. I've been trying for 20 plus minutes to submit them. They're not going through. He's like, try this, that. And then finally the Wi-Fi signal, when I pulled up right up front, had full bars on that Wi-Fi. And slowly but surely they all went through. And I let out a sigh of relief, and I was thinking like, man, like if not having phone signal would have cost me almost $10,000, I would have had like a full blown mental breakdown.
So a shady bar saved your tournament.
Yes, a shady bar saved my tournament.
I've been telling y'all for 3 years now on this live stream, shady bars are the way to go. You're welcome.
Yeah, hey, it's saved my ass.
I'm glad.
Would have been a different.
Now you got that money. Now the wife's happy. You've got at least a year of chasing these tournaments. Just to fall back on like, hey, I won 10 grand. Piss it away this year. Do it. Yep,
definitely.
Build on it. Build on it. Some people got you on their fantasy team, probably. Build that thing.
Yep. The fantasy.
Are they doing that again?
Yeah.
How they say they are.
Well, I mean, I already got a first place. Like, if they haven't started yet, what are they doing? You can't pick me after. Like,
Yeah, that's awesome. My wife's giving me hell in the comments. Nurse Ashley is off for the night. I've been fighting strep throat for a few days, but I still did the show here. Yeah. I'm like Ryan.
I appreciate it, Jeff. I'm sorry that I forced you to do this, but I'm glad.
Hey, I'm using your mantra. We do it for the people.
That's right. We do.
Nothing a Hall's cough drop and some ibuprofen won't fix for right
every time.
Yeah.
And eye drops. Always use eye drops. You're not taken seriously if you don't use eye drops.
Yeah. But man, Bryan, what an unbelievable weekend, man! Thanks for entertaining us all with the ups and downs.
And that was a hell of a show you put on, man. Honestly, like whether you got your fish uploaded before or after the buzzer, it was that suspense. I don't know, and AJ can probably answer this. As far as people tuning in to the weigh-in, like anticipating what was about to happen, that was nuts. Like that was a lot of suspense. I like it.
I bet.
I sent the screenshot to a group text that I put that weigh-in on my TV before the Super Bowl.
I heard other people that's what they're doing too. They're like, oh, my whole family was watching, and we were just watching it. They weren't watching pregame; they were watching the awards.
That's right.
Exactly. That's right. As soon as it was done, I was right to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, everybody was watching it. Everybody, like I know, my wife was at work at T-Mobile, and her coworkers were watching it with her, and her customers were watching it with her. They all wanted to see what was going to happen.
That's awesome.
Yeah, good stuff, man.
That is awesome. Joey in the comments, he said he's still driving home. He's been listening. Good job, man. That's there's no better feeling than that competition between, people that love to get out there and talk a little trash, but love to swing for the fences. I mean, we lose a lot more than we win. And I think that's something for everybody to keep in mind. You're not going to wake up every day and go out and knock it out of the park, but keep grinding and keep making yourself better and learn from interviews like this. I'm sure he just sold probably 20 more Thunder Crickets nationwide at least. So learn from this stuff, but seriously, like everybody's going to get a little better, and you're never going to have every body of water figured out. So get used to taking it on the chin and come back out the next time with a clean slate and do it all over.
Yeah. I mean, Joey's a stick too. You catch 200 inches, and he had me on my toes all day. I was just grinding. I didn't eat. I didn't drink anything. I didn't eat anything all day. Honestly, I was just grinding.
It shows, Brian. It shows. I'll send you over my diet plan. We'll get you bumped up in no time.
No, that's awesome. And shout out to Joey for having the thick skin and the wherewithal to take it on the chin after putting up what would have been a winning limit any other time.
It's crazy. That is insane. It's insane when his limit does not win. That's how you know it was a real freaking throwdown.
Yeah, it was nuts. That just shows you how good the lake is too, and everything like that. I love that lake. That's one of my top favorite lakes in the country.
I can't imagine what's going to happen when we catch it right. It's been a cold front the last 2 years. Imagine when you catch it right and you see 100, 90-inch limits. Like that lake has so much potential. There's so many big fish there, but it's Florida strain bass. They're so temperamental on cold front. So congrats to the top 5-10 guys that really put together that, that magic little ingredient on these Florida strain fish in the cold front. That was awesome.
Good stuff. It's on to Watts Bar.
Yeah.
Boy, listen. I'm gonna tell y'all. The Tennessee River Chain is a very special place. You can catch your personal best largemouth and your personal best smallmouth on the Tennessee River Chain. Cold weather, these big cold fronts that come through, they make it tough. So you may be in for a tough tournament. I highly encourage everybody to come because you may go out and you not feel like you have a shot and win the whole thing because this cold front's going to play a huge factor in the Watts Bar tournament for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's always those tournaments. There's always those tournaments where you just catch a limit both days and you're top 10 in it.
I guarantee you this is one of those. There will not be a home field advantage on this. This is going to fish crazy on this tournament. I'm willing to bet.
Now I kind of want to fish it more.
Yeah.
Come on.
Just get a limit, just grind. And
it's going to be a fun one to watch. But I'm sure I'll run into you boys sooner or later. I'll be at Broken Bow. Hopefully see you there, Brian. I don't know about
hopefully
Mr. Lambert, but
I don't know, man. Yeah, I'll try.
I appreciate everybody in the comments tonight. It's been a fun one. All right, ready to wrap this thing up. And Brian, tell your wife thanks for letting us steal you away, even though you just got home from that 12-hour drive, man.
Yeah, literally.
Is Taylor a member of KBN? Because she needs to be. Because she talked a lot of junk in the comments, and I
everything in there.
I enjoyed the hell out of it. That was awesome.
Like, I don't go on Facebook all that much. She's like, oh, did you see the drama with this person and this person?
Yeah.
Like, I haven't been on Facebook. No, like, update me. Send me the link.
That's nice.
Well, when I'm in Texas, I'll go to tight ends with the Allen brothers, but I'll meet you and Taylor at like Olive Garden or something, and we'll go have a nice dinner.
Yeah.
Nice dinner.
Yeah.
All right. Good stuff, boys. Let's wrap this thing up. Once again, appreciate everybody in the comments. That was a fun one. We'll talk to y'all later. See you, Bryan.
See
Take
ya.
care. Appreciate it.